Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, consequences of the abortion ban. Also, the Ethics Commission comes under fire. And ALGOP releases its contract with Alabama.
Well, I don't know. It's all right. That's in every contract. That's what they call a sanity clause.
I guess you better read the fine print there. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and the incredible Josh Moon, columnist, APR, and investigative reporter. Hi, Josh.
His head's going to explode.
Man, my intros are getting better and better
I'm
every
telling-
week. I appreciate you reading the script exactly the way I sent it to you.
Yeah, well, you are Andy Lou's father, so that gives you a lot of
That's right.
cred
That's
around
true.
here.
It does. It
Gives
does.
you a lot of credit. Who doesn't have much credibility is the Alabama Ethics Commission. They have come under fire from the famed, notorious, I would say, Matt Hart, former prosecutor turned defense attorney. And Susan, he has gone after them with a letter that is full of fire and fury and absolutely all Matt Hart.
Yes, it is. And it comes as a result of the allegations against Mark Pettaway and some of these, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, which ended up not to be anything there. But he also has experience with our own producer, Jonathan Barbie, who the Ethics Commission started out trying to prosecute him, found him not guilty, forgot to follow up with the AG. So even after all of that was adjudicated, the AG indicted him. And this took 2.5 years of his life and $300,000 plus because they can't get their act together down there.
And Josh, this all stems from the incompetence and I would say the willfulness and hubris of this Ethics Commission. And Matt Hart says that they have damaging and illegitimate investigation into Jefferson County Sheriff Pettaway, and it's just outrageous what they've done.
Yeah, I think if some of the allegations that Hart makes in the letter are true, then they ought to really bother a lot of people. And it's, because we have a system in the country that we take a lot of pride in, which is innocent until you're proven guilty. And, one of the things that was in the letter that I found to be really troubling is the fact that, according to Hart, the investigators and the folks at the Ethics Commission treated the accuser as though they were essentially working for that person. As though the Ethics Commission was essentially his attorneys and his defense team or whatever. And instead of treating both parties equally, because at that point they didn't really know whether any of these allegations were true or false. And as it turns out, they were false. The person that they were backing allegedly turned out he admitted to making up a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so, that is a problem. And, we've heard a lot of these about the way the Ethics Commission has handled a number of these investigations and the way a lot of people have come out of them, even after they're cleared, very damaged by the process. And that's not okay. And I think some lawmakers ought to take a look at what exactly is taking place there.
In my opinion, this is all about leadership. Tom Albritton, Cynthia Ralston over there, they are willful. When they go after someone, they come after them with such a vengeance. And again, an ethics investigation is not any more than an accusation. It is not even a court of law or law enforcement. No. But they do this. They came after Pettaway. They came after Jonathan Barbie. They tried to ruin Jonathan's life and business simply because they could.
Right. They even sent Jonathan, went over and talked to the Alabama Department of Revenue about Jonathan's income taxes. I mean, is that really the place that the Ethics Commission is supposed to get involved?
Yeah. I mean, Josh, we're going to have to move on here pretty quick, but the next subject is not nearly as important.
No, it's not.
There are serious problems with the Ethics Commission, and there needs to be some corrections to the ethics laws. But what they want to do right now in the legislature is just gut the ethics law. Well, if you're going to gut it, just quit pretending and do away with the Ethics Commission altogether.
Yeah, I think, you know, I get torn here because I've dealt with Tom Albritton a lot. And on a personal level, I have respect for Tom. And I feel like in a lot of cases, he's been straightforward with me in times that I've called and asked for things, and he's offered an explanation. And I found most of the time his explanations for things to be reasonable. That said, you know, you're right when we talk about why these things keep happening and why this stuff continues to be a problem. You know, at some point somebody's going to have to take control here.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be them, then the legislature is going to have to step in and do it, because we do need an ethics law. We do need ethics to be there. We need this entity in this body to come in and do the right things. And what gets me about the deal with Jonathan was, even if he had been found guilty of the things that they accused him of, it was so nothing. It was just an absolute nothingness that they were chasing after to begin with, that it was so ridiculous when we all know that there are much larger problems out there that should be addressed and that should be taken on. And they continue to give passes to people who continue to break the law, like, you know, campaign finance reporting and things like that we continue to bypass right by. And so that's the problems that I see out of that. And you're right, it is leadership. But I don't know how much the actual leaders at the Ethics Commission, or the leader, the executive director, actually has in terms of authority to change anything.
Well, I guess my thing is, because I run a couple of organizations, and I know this: if I stink, the organization stinks, and I cannot blame it on anyone else. And anybody that does is just a terrible leader. But hey, that's just my opinion. I get paid for one. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going. You know, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag. Something has to stop it, and unfortunately, it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous, and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it. This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. A really, really troubling, sad story. A 24-year-old couple from here in Alabama were having their second child, and things went horribly wrong for that child, and that family suffered undue burdens, and the woman nearly lost her life because of Alabama's draconian abortion ban laws. Susan, I want to let you lead this off here, but it is just a horrible, horrible story of what happened to this young couple.
It ended up with a good ending. However, she had what's called a partial molar pregnancy. And I'm going to describe this. It's going to be very graphic. If you want to go ahead and mute your television right now, do so. Okay. What it is the infant had no skull. There's no skull there. And also, all of the vital organs were on the outside of its body. There's absolutely no way this is a viable fetus, you know. But still, in Alabama, they would not treat her for this. It just so happened I was with a physician that gave her a phone number, and she was able to get the procedure done in Chicago. Now, here's the point. The Alabama laws would have made her carry it to term, which would have been most likely fatal for her.
Right.
In fact, I just heard about another story in Texas where a woman was allowed to lay 40 hours having a miscarriage in Texas, so long that she died of sepsis.
Yeah.
Died of sepsis after laying, and nobody would do anything for her for 48 hours, and she died. These draconian laws have got to be adjusted. There's got to be something done here. Women are dying all over the place because people's got their heads so far stuck in the sand, they don't understand that there are absolutely some reasons that this has to take place.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you're right to be outraged about it. I mean, and Josh, they had to max out all their credit cards to just get to Chicago. And we're just now seeing the enormity of the human cost. But yet there is no movement in the Alabama legislature to make exceptions for rape or incest or and
No,
really
they're too worried about the Star Spangled Banner being sung in schools.
they are worried about the wrong things. Go ahead, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they are worried about the wrong things. And listen, this is the consequences of legislating by religion instead of legislating by science and fact. Okay? This is the consequences of this. The only way that you get to this situation where we have a couple in this state, and this has happened in numerous states. Let's don't isolate it down to this young couple here. There was a report out yesterday that said there have been 64,000 rapes, pregnancies as a result of rapes that in the years since the Dobbs decision was made, and those in just the states where there are complete abortion bans.
Right.
All right. 64,000
in 2 years.
So
in only 2 years.
In 2 years. And so this is real life. And in real life, you consult with experts, with doctors, with scientists, with people who understand things and the reality of this stuff. But instead of doing that, we have legislated based upon a religious belief. That's all we're doing at this point. Honestly, it's a belief that's not based in any sort of reality in terms of the actual teachings of that religion. It's just something that happened in the 70s because somebody wanted to spur more votes to the right. Yeah. And so this is the reason these women are dying, is because of we've legislated by religious belief instead of going in and saying, you know what, this is absurd. What are we doing here? Any rational, reasonable person would have seen this woman and said, "No, there's absolutely no way this is gonna work. Mm-hmm. We should remove this fetus from her that's not viable, and make sure that we can protect her life and her health, so maybe she can have another child down the line." But they don't do that because this is the dumb stuff we do.
I didn't hear a beep, but it was close to a beep.
I think you drew it back in.
and I want to talk about this. You know, those of us who have been around a while remember when the Republican Party used to be synonymous with traditional conservatism. In other words, a conservatism that goes back to John Locke, that was sort of the bulwark of the movement in the 60s and then in the 80s. But it has drifted because one of the hallmarks of conservatism is personal liberty. Mm-hmm. That is one of the biggest fundamental things about conservatism, is that the individual is free from government interference in their personal and private lives. But what we've seen is the banner of conservatism being used to control people because conservative now is being equated with the religious right.
Mhm.
And not all Republicans are religious. Not all, they didn't used to be. You basically have to be now. But that wasn't a thing. You know, that's been a thing like Josh was talking about. It crept in the 70s, and then with Jerry Falwell and these jokers, and then Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan co-opted them so to win election.
Right, of course.
But once they got a foothold, they've taken over the party. So the party is no longer conservative. It's a religious right party, in my opinion. Again, but I get paid to have those. But this is what troubles me, Susan, is that we've lost the very fabric of what it meant to be conservative. I have a lot of conservative views, but I have not a single religious view that I want to put into government. Now, I have plenty of religious views, but they do not belong in government. But
They do not. And this is where the Republican Party has now turned to everything from abortion, from, you know, a woman's reproductive health to, you know, who you love, what your children can read. I mean, this is almost like an invasion of your personal freedoms that this party has now. Back, you know, for Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan and all that, that did not take place then, but it is prolific now.
Yeah, I remember, and Josh, we only got a few seconds here, but Barry Goldwater, when they asked him about gays serving in the military, he said he didn't care if they were straight, as long as they could shoot straight. Josh, we got about 30 seconds. Go ahead and give us your last thoughts.
Yeah, listen, you know, the problem that conservatives currently have is that they have to rely on the religious stuff and this sort of nonsense and the pandering and the emotional stuff because they have no policies that people genuinely like anymore. You know, that they've pushed themselves so far into a corner, into extremism and into other things by vilifying so many groups of people at this point that their policies no longer make sense to the overwhelming majority of people. And so they have to rely on these sort of emotional issues and the control of things and pretending as though people are attacking your children by offering them books to read about their peers. So that is where we are with this. And so it's going to continue this until they get back to some sort of roots and say, listen, we're going to focus on conservative economic policies and other things that used to be a benchmark of the Republican Party and of conservatism. And until they do that, this is where we're going to be.
Because we don't need we need a Republican Party. We need a liberal party.
Mm-hmm.
We need a Democratic Party. We need a conservative and a progressive party. We need that representations, but we'll leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. I do not want to seem to come across as piling on Republicans, but it's Republicans that are in charge. See, if the Democrats were in charge, then we would be piling on Democrats. But since the Democrats can meet in what, you know, a shed out behind my house, it doesn't really matter. But the Republicans have control of all the levers of government, and so they rightfully should be criticized and held to a decent standard of getting their business done. Now, I just recently got a press release from ALGOP, the Alabama GOP, and it was a contract for Alabama, or contract with Alabama. Now, Susan, I felt it should have been called a contract on Alabama, as if when you take out a contract to murder someone, because what they said sounded really, really good, but what they mean is something else.
Well, yeah, they want to have fiscal responsibility, wasteful spending, whatever, but they're not thinking about the healthcare and education that's going to be, and infrastructures that are going to be weakened from all of that. They want to fight immigration and crime and secure our borders. What border? We don't have a border with Mexico. They want to.
You got to keep those Mississippians from coming in here.
Well,
they also want.
I'm kind of for that.
they also want to protect Social Security. What can the Alabama legislature do about Social Security? I mean, this is just crap.
I mean, Josh, one of my favorite ones was that they said they wanted to protect individual freedom. And
I thought I'd
they
leave that
wanted
one
to
for
protect
Josh.
the liberty of women and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just
Oh, no, listen, my favorite was the border one. Because I wasn't sure if they were protecting the border to keep people from fleeing the state. Is that what they were trying to do? I don't know if they were trying to keep us locked in. They were going to build a wall to keep us in. Or, no, listen, you're right, though. At a point, some people, Republicans been in charge, conservatives been in charge of this place for a long time.
Yeah.
The actual Republican Party has been in charge of this place since 2010.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we're a decade and a half at this point, basically, of full. I mean, this is the Democrats mostly don't have a say in anything. This is they don't need Democrats to do anything, so it's all on them.
Yeah.
And as their last governor prior to this one said, we are last in everything good and first in everything bad. And so, that was the Republican governor, a solid 8 years into the Republican rule in this state saying that.
Yeah.
And nothing much has changed. The fact of the matter is, if you look around and talk about why our public education is in the shape that it's in, why our rural health care is in the shape that it's in, why women are having such problems with their health care choices and options right now, why all of the problem, the waste and pollution that we have in our rivers and lakes and stuff, and while these things are happening, it's under the guidelines and the policies and the laws put in place by the Republican Party that's leading this state. And on top of that, I'd like to also remind everybody that we got a little issue with home rule in this state as well, where they have steadily removed responsibility from city governors or from city mayors and the governance of those cities, and taking in all the power that they can in Montgomery. So this is all in their lap.
Yeah.
And they ain't fixed it, a bit of it.
You know what I don't see in here? Health care.
No.
Food insecurity for children.
No.
Anything to do with lifting people up and actually giving Alabamians a chance to better themselves. None of that is in here.
No, it's not. And again, this comes from the party. And I know for a fact that we have Republicans in the House and Senate that care about people. They care about good government. But that's not what sells to the base. The base wants this, we're going to fix the border with Florida.
You know what, man?
What?
Listen, we keep hearing, I say it, you say it all the time. There's a bunch of good people who want to do good things. Well, then damn it, do it. You know it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there in positions of authority. I mean, take a look around, man, and fix something. You know what I'm saying?
You're definitely getting beeped.
Get other people. Sit down at a table, discuss these things, and leave the idiots on the outside of the doors.
Well,
I mean, come on, take a stand, man.
I know, and look, I just released there was a report that I did an analysis of on closing rural hospitals. I mean, we've had 14 rural hospitals closed since Obamacare was instituted, and Republicans were in charge and watched 14 rural hospitals close. We've got 19 now on the brink of closing. It is going to be so that if you are one of the Republican base supporters outside of the metro area, you aren't going to have health care in your neighborhood.
No, and
period.
Alabama could have taken care of this years ago. I don't remember, it was like 8 or 10 years ago when the federal government was going to come in here and expand Medicaid for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
For I think 3 years.
Yeah, for years it was going to be for free.
Yeah, for free.
For years it was going to be for free.
And since then we've had 14 we've had how many hospitals closed and 14 about to close now. I mean,
we had 14 closed.
It doesn't take a brain.
Susan, they got concepts of a plan, okay? Any day, the concepts of the plan are going to come through and we're going to fix this stuff over here. But listen, and y'all are focusing on the wrong thing. They got those books moved to the young adult section in the library, and all of the problems went away. Okay, all of them.
I feel a lot better.
Yeah, I feel a
now
lot
that
better
all those
having that
books are
done.
moved,
Yeah,
because
you're right,
God
Josh. You're
forbid
right.
that librarians should do librarian stuff, and that parents should do parenting stuff, because we need the state to do that.
Yeah, well,
for
the
us,
state.
you know? That's the most important bit right there.
That's their job.
But
No.
I think, well, we're gonna get out of here in about a minute, but I wanted to say this. We've got an election coming Tuesday. It is, like all elections, foundational to our freedom. This one, perhaps, for some, more consequential than others. Go out and vote. You know, in Alabama, we're probably going to see Donald Trump win dramatically, but there are stakes that are high, and I think, Susan, it'll be interesting to watch and see how the women of Alabama come out on the abortion issue and how black voters come out, especially in District 2. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.